The observer would like to advise that the following video comes with a trigger warning. The content in this video is of a sensitive nature, so please beware that the topic of this video may trigger you. The observer recommends that you consider your own mental health before you watch this video.
So on Tuesday night it's 9 o'clock. I've got my ring light here, but I haven't plugged it in. I don't know if it's even still working. Let me try. Let me try this. I never normally use my ring light because I have really good lighting in the old house. Let me try that. I'll see if it works. No, it's not going to work. I need to get a new one then. I only really use it as a stand these days. It's not working. I'll get a new one. I'll order one tomorrow. My new desk is coming in 2 days, so I'll be able to go into the front room going live. Give it a whack. I'm not violent. Yeah, so on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, we are going to have Charlie Costa's dad, Martin, on. And Charlie Costa was a boy who lost his life to knife crime. I'm sure if you follow Martin Costa on here, he tells Charlie's story through videos on here. And he tells Charlie's story like absolutely heartbreakingly, and Charlie Costa is going to come on here and he's going to tell us his whole story. I don't know, they're about £19.99 or something. I think you can get a decent one for. Did Ursula say she's sad or something? Because I missed Ursula's comment. I just saw someone saying we're all here. Did Ursula say just mental health? Oh, I hope you're okay, Ursula. You reach out if you need something. I am going to be watching the BBC documentary. I have no doubt that my videos will make an appearance on there some way, because I'll be one of the main people blamed for the social media hype around the Nicola Bulley case. Yeah, I imagine I will be. They do tend to pop up whenever I'm covering a case. Observer. So I'm interviewing Martin Costa, Charlie's dad, on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, which I think will make a really good YouTube video if you're around. If not, I could do it myself. But it's going to be 9 o'clock on Tuesday, and he's going to be talking to us about his son losing his life through knife crime. So if you could film that and put it onto YouTube for me, it does me a massive favour, because I don't have to worry so much about doing that the next day. It's going to be a really, really sad live. I know a couple of people in my Discord have particularly said that they will be bringing their teenage children to that live, and I think that's really important. If you have children over the age of like 12 or 13, I think that may be a really good live for teenagers to watch, the true impact of knife crime and what it means to a family afterwards. And it may stop some teenagers from either carrying a knife or hanging around with other children that do. Thank you, Emperor. So I do think that live, and I know it's happening at 9 o'clock, so you might think it's too late, it's been a school night, but if Observer puts it onto a YouTube, I really think, especially for boys, it may be a good idea to have teenage children sit down and watch the impact. Charlie was doing nothing wrong and he lost his life. And I think this, you know, I covered a video today about the 12-year-olds in Wolverhampton that carried the machete. And I think it's so important. And Charlie's so, Martin is so open about Charlie's story that he said, like, don't even give me the questions beforehand. Like, I will answer whatever you think is going to help people. So that's Tuesday at 9. I've been contacted by another family who I'm going to be making videos for tomorrow. So anyone who can repost those videos, I'll be really grateful. That is to do with a 20-year-old girl who had moved to Manchester to start university, was absolutely excited about starting. She wanted to work in the film industry. One night she left her dormitory in 2022, went for a walk and ended up dead in the Salford Quays. And there's some really bizarre points of that case that have been brought up during the inquest. Like somebody left, I've got to show you because I just can't even explain it. Somebody left 4 lots of this along the side of the river where she went in, and they left, sorry, it always happens to me. Let me find the green screen because I'm running on empty today. Somebody left these, where did I take photo? 4 lots of this near to where her body entered the water, and they left them before she was even declared as missing. Thank you guys for the heart me's. So they couldn't have known that she was missing. and it was a nearly full bottle of Asti and a stick and a rose made into a cross and a full pack of cigarettes where 2 of them were soaked in the Asti. Like, to me, that is so bizarre. Get the facts. What are you on about? Not with your weird name and your weird writing. Jog on. But they left like 4 of them just meters apart, near to where she went in. So I'm going to go into more of that tomorrow in the videos. But we really need people to get behind this case, because she's just had an inquest and they've come back as an open cause of death. They don't think she went in herself, but they can't say what happened. They certainly don't think it was that she meant to do it. But her mum's contacted me because I did a video about her during the time when I was covering all of the cases of weird deaths in the rivers, and her mum said, look, I just want to say thank you. And it does seem quite satanic. It seems quite, what's the word I'm looking for? So Ursula, Noah's inquest is happening in October, and then Fiona will be coming live with me. Have moved now. It's so creepy. What was the word I was looking for then? Ritualistic, thank you, so I think that's something we've definitely got to get behind this family and spread it as far as we can. TikTok can be absolutely... Richards? I know that was a mistake, Lulu, but that made me laugh. I was like, who's Richards? So I'll get more into that in videos tomorrow. Definitely. So we're going to talk about a couple of cases tonight. The first one is a UK case. It's only a very small case. I mean, I don't have much information available, but I want to talk about something that's really important in the case. Oh, stop it, Hazel. Grace said that to me on the phone the other night as well. Like, did you not know it was wide open? I was like, well, I was blocking it when I went live. So when I moved out of the way and everyone saw my bog, I wasn't expecting it. So I have covered Kelly's case from Northern Ireland, but her mum now is on TikTok and she's doing so much good work in Kelly's case. So I may see if her mum wants to come on and speak to us about Kelly's case, because it feels kind of lacking me doing videos when her mum's doing videos and her mum is so impactful. So I've just made videos asking people to follow Kelly's mum, Julie, because it just makes more sense to hear it straight from a parent, if you know what I mean. It will have way more sway than I ever will. But it's definitely a case I'm very interested in seeing a resolution for that family. Yeah. So Charlie Costa's dad is coming live with us on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, so that's an important one. If everyone can be here, that'd be great. The more support we can give him, the better. What's her mum's account? It's Julie, let me have a look. Julie Ann Lynch. So it's like this. Julie Ann Lynch. And she makes a lot of videos about her daughter, which are really important. Thank you, Cassie.
The father of
So this is who we've got coming on Tuesday night.
Stabbed to death at a party in West Sussex says a new ban on zombie knives doesn't go far enough. Martin Costa has been campaigning on the issue of knife crime since his son died in Warnham last year.
In a moment, we'll be speaking to Martin, but first, here's James Webster to explain what the new rules
I just want to see Martin.
Was stabbed at...
Oh, that's Martin.
Sharp point knives, which the government...
a year ago, and it was a case of him being really in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wasn't stabbed by a zombie knife, which is what this law now applies to. But do you think this ban, though, goes far enough?
Well, he wasn't stabbed with a zombie knife. He was stabbed, the pathologist has led us to believe, by a knife about, 6-8 inches, although it was never recovered. Look, any knife off the streets, it can't be a bad thing, but it's about so much more than a zombie knife or a ninja knife for me. You know, over 100, I think, from March 22 to March 23, murders were carried out with kitchen knives. So
this is Martin, who we've got coming on Tuesday night. His TikToks just have me in absolute pieces. Like when he talks about the first time going into Charlie's bedroom, the first time his daughter tried to go back to school. Like all of those firsts for him, like he campaigns tirelessly. He's got a whole range of merch out now. The money goes towards knife crime. I'm going to get myself a hoodie this week. I think what he has done, him and his wife, to give us an insight into their life since they lost Charlie. The day he came out of the trial when he got the guilty verdict, and he's just crying and he's just like, I still don't feel any better. Like I still don't have Charlie. So definitely go and follow up Martin Costa's account. He is coming on Tuesday and going to bravely tell us. He does go to loads of different places, Nanny. He goes to like village stuff, school stuff, all of this different stuff. And he's going to tell us Charlie's story. So try not to research too much because we're going to hear it straight from his father, which is so important. Thank you for all the heart me's, guys. And thank you for the gifts as well. You're all amazing. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Queen Kimmy. Yeah. Even the videos, like he's done a couple recently where he's had to go to the police station and pick up what's left of Charlie's clothing from that night. And he just talks about it, and you're just like, you never even think about those sides of it when you've lost your son. Like the trial's over, then you've got to go and pick up his bleeding clothing, and he's like, the police were so kind to wash the blood out of it because it was covered, and he's just weeping. It's so hard to watch, but I think, like I said, for anyone who is coming to that live, if you have teenagers, it is worth getting them to watch that live, because we have to understand the impact of knife crime and the fact that it doesn't just stop when you take someone's life. There's a whole family. Charlie had a younger sister who struggles to do a full day in school now because people ask her questions, and she's always going to be Charlie Costa's little sister. It's going to be 9 o'clock on Tuesday. So we will talk about what the killer got, etc. on that day. So what case are we going to talk about tonight? I'm going to talk about another death row case where someone got put to death who was quite possibly innocent. But first of all, I'm just going to do a smaller UK case, which is going to take me about 10 minutes to do, because the mum is asking, saying, my daughter, if you want to do a live Sheldon's Army, because I know we spoke about it before, send me a message after the live and I would quite happily have you on to tell your story, because I don't know too much about Sheldon's case, but I would love to know more about it. And I know we did talk about it before, but it was a time when I was getting loads of hate and all my messages were off and stuff. But if you did want to do one, I definitely want to work with as many families as I can to get awareness on this channel, and I would love to do that if you wanted to. So what do I want to do? I'm going to do get a picture up. Hey Lana. Beth, I've only just come live. You haven't missed anything. Where's that clear picture got? Right, so get my notes up. So this here is Christopher Hartley, and Christopher Hartley was 17 when he was murdered and decapitated by one of his friends. And we're going to talk about it a little bit now. Now, the reason that we're talking about it now is because the murderer is up for release. Now, I struggle with this so badly because it happened in 1997, and so some people would say, well, maybe he deserves to get out, like the way crimes are dealt with in this country, like he served a lot of time for this murder. However, he decapitated Christopher, and to this day, he will not tell the family where Christopher's head is. And to me, if you do not allow the family to bury their son completely, you should never, ever, ever be allowed to get out of prison. And I feel the same in any case where someone gets murdered and they don't know where the body is. You've kept part of his body, the main part, his brain. You've kept his head from his mother, and you've refused to say. So why the fuck should you get a chance to get out? Like, I just don't get it. So the mum of a murdered teenager whose body was dismembered and dumped in a bin is horrified that his killer may soon be back on the streets. Jean Hartley's son Christopher was just 17 when he was murdered and decapitated by Stuart Diamond on December of the 30th, 1997. Now, this actually happened in Burnley in Lancashire. This is the killer here. I'll just quickly show the picture. This was the picture the police put out, and it's really grainy and you can't really tell, but I did manage to find another one of him. This is him. So this is the killer. Jean Hartley's son Christopher was just 17 when he was murdered and decapitated by Stuart Diamond on December the 30th, 1997. His head has never been found. Diamond was convicted of murder in 1997, but next month he will appear before a tribunal with the chance of getting out of prison. Thank you, Creators Gone Wild. Hopefully I'll never be on your page. If it rules in his favour, this hearing, then he may be walking on the streets as early as next month. Mum Jean, 73, from Liverpool, said, There's not a day that goes by when I don't grieve for my son. Our family was ripped to shreds by his evil. 2 of his sisters were unable to cope, and we lost them too. One on Christopher's birthday and the second on his anniversary. Now, let me just tell you how awful that is. That one of his sisters unalived on his first birthday, that he was gone, and one on his first anniversary. 2 of his sisters, Cat Lady Claire. Diamond is a monster. He should never be released. I am speaking out to make sure he does not kill again. How can he be fit for release when he still has not told me where my son's head is? Christopher was the 4th of Jean's 5 children and grew up in Burnley in Lancashire. She said he was full of mischief and fun. We lived on a hill, and even as a toddler he'd race down that hill in his cart. His big sisters all made such a fuss of him. They loved him. We loved him so much. When he got older, he started fixing bicycles. People would knock on the door with their broken bikes for him. He was so good with his hands. He made a go-kart at school for his younger brother. He was so proud of doing that. In July 1997, Christopher, who was then 17, moved to Blackpool, where his older sister Michelle and brother Stephen lived. His mum said, I didn't want him to go, but he said there was plenty of seasonal work there and he'd have a job waiting for him on the pleasure beach. He planned on staying with his sister Michelle. His mum said every time he called home, he sounded happy. He came home in August and bought presents for us all. He gave me the watch, which I'll still treasure to this day. He was working for Christmas, but planned to move back home for good on New Year's Day of 1998. I was looking forward to having my baby back. But on December the 30th, Michelle's landlord said Christopher had to leave and he'd found himself homeless. Hey, buddy. That same night, Stuart Diamond offered him a place to stay. As far as we know, Diamond was a stranger up to that point who saw that Christopher was vulnerable and needed a place to stay and said he could stay with him over the Christmas period. Diamond then lured Christopher back to his bedsit with a promise of the bed for the night, but instead strangled him, smothered him, and cut his body into 3 pieces in the bathroom of the flats. Remains of Christopher's headless body were later found in a bin at the back of the New Central Hotel in Blackpool, and he'd been cut. His head was cut off, then he was cut at the waist, and the bottom 2 halves of him were in the bin. Despite an extensive police search, Christopher's head has never been found. His mum said on New Year's Day we were expecting Christopher home and I was planning a nice family get-together and a nice meal. My neighbour told me a body had been found in Blackpool, but I didn't for a minute connect it with Christopher. How could it be my Christopher? When the police came, my world fell apart, and hearing how he'd been cut into pieces was horrific. There was no dignity at all in his death. I was desperate for police to find his head so he could be buried with it. At a trial in 1999, the courts heard police found bloodstains and tissue of Christopher's body tissue at the flat, as well as Diamond's fingerprints on a stool, in a stool leg in Christopher's blood. Following his conviction, it was revealed he had 2 previous convictions for violence. In one incident, a man needed 130 stitches in his face. After Diamond, who was handed an 18 months prison sentence in a young offender institute, slashed his whole face with a knife. A psychiatric report from a previous conviction showed Diamond fantasised about carrying out murders. No, his sister didn't. The landlord, where they were sharing a flat, Michelle and Christopher, didn't know Christopher was staying there, and so he said to her, like, he has to leave, like, he can't live here, it's not big enough for both of you. And so Christopher actually was supposed to go home to his mum, and then found this boy that said, like, I will give you a bed for the next couple of nights until you move back home for good. We must note that his sisters are no longer with us, and we must never blame them for what happened. So a psychiatric report from a previous conviction showed Diamond fantasised about carrying out murders. Thank you. He had only been out on... Thank you. He had only been out on licence for a matter of weeks when he murdered Christopher. The sentencing judge told Diamond, it is clear you're a very dangerous man. The most anxious consideration will be given as to whether you will ever be safe to release you. Now, Diamond is currently a restricted prisoner and is detained under the Mental Health Act. Jean's eldest daughter, Julie, died on Christopher's birthday, the year after his murder following a short illness. Her second daughter, Michelle, died the first year of Chris's anniversary on New Year's Day of 2024. She unalived herself after a mental health battle. His father, Philip, also passed away last year. Jean, Christopher's mum, said, "Diamond ripped my family apart. He took Christopher from us in such horrific circumstances that my daughters could never recover. In my mind, he is also responsible for their deaths," like Shannon said. Jean recently learned that Diamond is due to appear before a mental health tribunal in September this year, next week it is. The tribunal does not have, it was this week, sorry. The tribunal does not have the power to discharge Diamond, but if successful, his case could be referred to the parole board, which can determine if test for release is met. According to the Ministry of Justice guidance, next month's tribunal could determine if Diamond is suffering from mental health disorder, which continues to make it unsafe for him to be out, or whether he has improved enough to be released. Diamond then could be referred to the parole board to decide if he is suitable for that release. Jean said he shouldn't be given any option to be allowed out. He is sick and he is a real danger and risk to the public. He was on licence when he killed Christopher and he still killed him. I have no doubt he would do it again. I've asked Probation Service for a recent photo of him, and I've been told I can see one quickly, but I will not be able to copy it, so I won't even know what he looks like if I bump into him. I've been told he's allowed out for short periods now and then, and the possibility of passing him in the street without knowing fills me with dread. I'm a nervous wreck at the thought of him getting out and destroying another life and another family. He should never be released. How can he be released when he still knows where my son's head is and I haven't been able to bury my son? How can he be considered to be safe for any kind of release? And it absolutely breaks my heart, because how can he be seen as being safe for any kind of release, or even be able to go up against the parole board or anything, when you haven't give Christopher's head back? You have to know what you did with it. You dumped the rest of him in the bin, and his mum has spent the last 30 plus years waiting to find out where her son's head is. Like, to me, if you bury a body, like, there's been other cases in the UK and in America where the killer has got out, but they've never revealed where their victim's body is. How can that be? How can you not? If you have to show remorse to get out of prison, how can you show remorse if you won't return him to his family? I don't understand. I just don't understand how that can be the case. Like, why would you even consider it? Thank you, Jasper. I will put this into a video tomorrow as well, because I think it's really important we get behind Jean. It says the sisters in Dublin. This case breaks my heart. Like, absolutely breaks my heart. Like, this guy dreamed about murder. They knew this through the court system. He was still let out on release, and although he was on licence, he still managed to lure a young innocent boy back to his house at 17 and take his life in the most brutal way. We know that he bludgeoned him because the stool leg had blood on from Chris's head and the killer's fingerprints on. We know he suffocated him. We know he strangled him, and then you cut him into 3 pieces and dumped 2 of them in a bin, and his head's never been found. Yeah, of course, I'm going to put the pictures bigger now anyway, before I move on to the next case. So this is Christopher. Christopher Hartley is the victim's name. Let me just go. This is Stuart Diamond, the killer, but it's a really bad picture from Lancashire, but I'll show you another one in a minute. This is Christopher. It's a really grainy picture, but it's an old one from the 80s. This is Christopher with his mum and one of his sisters. This is Christopher's mum today. She's lived a whole lifetime, mum, without knowing where he is. Even seeing that picture, right, broke my heart, because I thought, she's still got a smile on her face, man. She's lost 3 out of 5 kids. One of them, she hasn't even got all of them. A sister who died from a short illness, which is thought to be mental health related because she couldn't cope because her brother died. And his other sister on the first anniversary unalived herself because she couldn't deal with what happened. Like, I just don't understand how but she's still here, and she's still here because she wants to fight for justice. She wants her son's head back. How can you ever even, think about anything else until you get him back? And this is the killer here, Stuart Diamond. He looks a bit like Ian Huntley, I think. And this is another picture of Christopher. I don't know how she's coping, mum. He does look evil. Right. We're going to talk about this next case. I will put all this into a video tomorrow as well, so if people can repost it, share it. We need to make a real big effort that he cannot get out until he, at the very least, evening, tells where Christopher's head is. And that even then he should be released. You know what I mean? You've literally cut one person's face open, you've hurt someone else in a vicious attack, another man, and now you've taken the life of a boy that was just looking for a bed for the night. I know, how can he ever be? We're going to talk about this case now. Todd Willingham. Cameron Todd Willingham. This is a family. It's going to be a hard case to listen to. I will make it smaller in a minute because we are talking about the deaths of 3 children. This is a death row case, and I'm going to tell you the whole case. It's a bit of a deep dive, this one, so we're going to be here for at least probably 40 minutes. Okay. Okay, so the date this all happened is December the 23rd, 1991, and 23-year-old Cameron Todd Willingham had fallen asleep while caring for his 3 young daughters, 2-year-old Amber Louise and 1-year-old twins, Carmen Diane Willingham and Cameron Marie Willingham. Thanks, Gray. He's exhausted, and to keep them safe, he has put them in their own room, each in their own crib, while he takes a nap. Cameron's wife Stacey is out shopping for Christmas presents at a thrift store at the time. Now Cameron suddenly wakes up to the sound of his children crying and one of his daughters yelling, "Daddy, Daddy, help me, Daddy." The whole house is full of thick smoke. Cameron said he runs to his daughter's room immediately but is knocked back by the thick black smoke. He is unable to reach any of his children, and so he runs out of the house to get help. When he gets outside, thank you guys, he is met by one of his neighbours who has already called 911 to report the fire. The fire trucks arrive and they get to work immediately. Cameron, who is talking to one of the men about what happened, while the rest battle the flames. Now, one of the firefighters says that Cameron is trying to get back inside the house to get to his children, and the firefighters have to hold him back and almost pin him down to stop him getting back into the blaze. One of the firemen then emerges out of the home, holding Amber in his arms, and Cameron runs to see her and tries to run back into the house with the 2 other girls a second time. Thanks for the follows, guys. 2 of the men on the scene have to hold him back to restrain him once more from going into the burning house. One of them even reported getting a black eye, trying to hold him back because he's just flailing. He's desperate, shouting that he needs to save his children. Thank you for the heartbeats, guys. The fire was so out of control they could do nothing, and unfortunately, the 1-year-old twins and 2-year-old Amber, who have been found in the master bedroom, dies of smoke inhalation on the way to the hospital. All 3 children, Amber, Carmen and Cameron, perished in that fire. Their mother Stacey, who's still out Christmas shopping at a thrift store when she was notified, she falls to the floor in the thrift shop screaming that she's lost all 3 of her children. Cameron was lucky enough to escape with minor injuries, just a few small burns on his shoulder. Stacey's clearly devastated, but immediately people begin asking if Cameron was responsible for what happened to his children. Now, a lot of people say that he reacted in a really weird way when he lost the children. Now, the family didn't have a whole lot of money. I'll show you the house they lived in, actually. You can just kind of get a feel. This is after the fire. So they kind of live in a 1-storey home. This is after the fire had happened. So the family don't have The family don't have a whole lot of money, and Stacey works in her brother's bar called Some Other Place. It's the name of the bar, and Cameron usually works as an. Sorry, am I back? I think I set off Bixby again on my phone. Am I back? Am I back? Yeah, okay. So Cameron normally works as a mechanic, but he was unemployed at the time of the fire. This is a small community where everyone knows everyone's business in Texas, and so everyone else knows everyone's business, and so the local bring together everyone for a fundraiser for the family to help pay for 3 funerals. Both Cameron and Stacey show up to the fundraiser, and it seems Cameron has a little too much to drink, and people say afterwards that it appears like he's having fun, which obviously is not a good look when you're at a fundraiser to raise money for, to raise money for your children's funerals. According to those at the fundraiser, he was acting really out of character for someone who just lost their babies in a fire. One person at the event even reported him hearing something to the extent of, I won't have to worry about money anymore because the money will start rolling in because people will feel sorry for me. Now I have to say this is just one person's report. Not many people said this. It was just one person said they heard him say this, and this could never be substantiated. It's just one person said it kind of thing. Meanwhile, the fire department was investigating the scene of the deaths to try and determine the cause of fire. Hey Stacey. There was no evidence the fire was caused by faulty wiring, so they ruled that out along with other possibilities of an accidental fire. They walked through the home, noting everything they saw, a fire investigator. In the utility room, one of the fire investigators noticed on the wall pictures of skulls, which he later described as a picture of the Grim Reaper. Thank you guys for the gifts. Then when they looked at the children's room, they discovered what they believed to be signs of accelerant being poured on the floor in the girls' rooms. When they looked at the burn pattern, it appeared this accelerant had been poured in the shape of a pentagram. But the smoking gun for them came when they discovered an unusual burn pattern on an aluminium threshold plate, which is that little bit of metal that connects doors in the house. Thank you guys. It appeared that some sort of liquid had leaked through the cracks, and when they tested it, it came back as positive sample for charcoal lighter fluid. Some of the broken windows contained spider web-like patterns, which fire investigators called crazed glass, and this pattern is normally a key indicator that a fire has burnt hot and fast, meaning it had been fueled by a liquid accelerant, and that causes the glass to fracture. It looks almost like a spider web on there. Throughout the investigation, the fire department noted 20 indicators that the fire was arson. They believe someone had poured liquid accelerant through the children's bedroom, including under their beds. Then poured some more down the hallway and out the front door, creating a fire barrier that would stop any of the children from ever being able to escape. Everything appeared to be absolutely intentional, and police were looking straight at Cameron as their suspect for starting the fire. Everything appeared, so it all looked really intentional. Thank you, Maria. Cameron was definitely the only suspect. He was the only one in the house, and they believed he had set the fire to kill the children in an attempt to cover up the abuse of the children. Now, Cameron did have a violent history with his wife. He was known to be a domestic violence perpetrator. He could get very angry very quickly, and neighbours had reported hearing those fights, and that some people had even said they saw him being physically violent to her. Well, Stacey herself said, yes, he has abused me. He has never been violent with the children, she said. And she said, look, my children were well loved by their father, and he spoiled them rotten. He was a good father. But things that were coming out just didn't look good for Cameron. We have people saying, look, he looked happy at the fundraiser. He was making some kind of comments. People saying he was an abusive husband, and all of these different things. Now, let's talk a little bit about Cameron's early life. So Cameron Todd Willingham was born in Ardmore, Oklahoma in 1968, but shortly afterwards he was abandoned by his mother and left with his father Gene and stepmother Eugenia. The family didn't have a whole lot of money, so they lived in tight quarters, but did appear to be a generally quite a happy household. Still, Cameron began to abuse substances at a very young age, starting with sniffing paint at 12. Cameron turned to shoplifting, stealing bikes, and doing whatever he could to get money to maintain the habit. He had a torrid affair in his late teens with a much older woman who lived next door and had kids his age. and I can't battle at the moment, hustle. And then he went on to meet his wife Stacey in 1988. Stacey actually had a very tragic upbringing. When she was just 4 years of age, her stepfather strangled her mother to death during a fight in front of her. She grew up around domestic violence, which likely contributed to her accepting a violent man when she grew up. Can we not victim blame and stuff in the comments, please? Because it doesn't help anyone, and it's just not for my channel. Like, these are crime stories. These are real crime stories from inside people's lives, the way they've lived. And Stacey has lost 3 children. She grew up in a very tragic situation. I don't think we should ever be putting blame on her. I can tell you right now, it definitely wasn't Stacey who murdered her children. And I think, now I'm keeping the comments on because I think it helps to boost the live, get more people in. But I just like to think that being a true crime page, that, you know, the mods will just mute you if you're victim blaming, because there's just no place in my page for that to happen. And we're telling their real life stories from the ground up. And I think we should definitely try to be respectful. So Stacey had actually watched her stepfather murder her mother by strangulation in front of her at 4. Besides that abuse, the allegedly happened even when Stacey was pregnant at the hands of Cameron, who was also unfaithful to her pretty much throughout their whole relationship. The police were talking to the neighbours about what they had seen, and according to some, they believed that on the day of the fire, Cameron had never tried to go back in for his children, and he didn't appear very emotional as the house burnt down. Some of them said it appeared as if he was putting on a show. Of course, you had others like the firemen and other neighbours who said he was bereft, he was fighting to get back in the house, he was giving people black eyes, he struggled desperately, he was screaming. And according to one of the men who had held him back, he had even got the black eye from Cameron's elbow as 2 or 3 of them tried to hold him back. He was a big guy. So I think, and we have to bear in mind in these true crime stories, yeah, and it happens in every walk of life, yeah, not even just true crime, that if I tell you something bad about someone, you'll instantly give me all of the bad points of someone, like, yeah, he did that to me too once, or I saw him do this. And people tend to want to be part of an investigation. Everyone throws their 2 cents in, and it's not always the truth. It's sometimes just the way they view things. And once a very small town starts speaking about he's guilty, it looks like it's him, then everyone turns that way and they're like, yeah, he's got evil in his eyes. Like, all you guys, as I'm telling you this story, you're saying, well, he looks evil, he looks like he could do this and all that, because I'm telling you this part of the story right now, not the other side of it. And so to you see those things, but it's not all, it's a lot of the time we don't know what happens like behind closed doors or beneath the surface. So this is the day of the fire, according to Cameron. So this is what version he gave to the police. And I have to note this very quickly here, that Cameron never changed his story. He always stuck to this. So it was time to question Cameron on his version of the events from the day of the fire. According to him, Stacey left the house around 9 a.m. to pick up Christmas presents for the kids at the Salvation Army. Okay, Tara, if you just don't give any spoilers, because it's really not helpful if anyone does, because if people go and look up the case halfway from me speaking about it, please just keep that to yourself to the end, just because obviously other people are listening now, if that's okay. So yeah, he said Stacey left at 9 o'clock to go and get Christmas presents from the Salvation Army, and shortly after that the twins began to cry, so he gave them both a bottle and he let them fall asleep on the floor of their room. They had a baby gate that went across the doorway so they couldn't get out. Amber was still in her bed sleeping, so Cameron decided to go back to sleep as well in the master bedroom so that he could get a nap while they were sleeping. And a short while later, Cameron woke up to the sound of Amber screaming, "Daddy, Daddy," and when he woke up, the house was already full of smoke. He jumped out of bed, put on a pair of pants and yelled for Amber to try and get out of the house. Then he felt his way down the hallway to the twins' room. In their room, it was thick with black smoke and he could hear things popping and crackling in the fire. He tried to stand, but when he was knocked back by the smoke, he couldn't see anything, so he felt his way around the room to try and find his babies until he could not stand the smoke any longer. And when he got outside, he said he yelled for a neighbour to call the fire department and then claimed he tried to get back inside the house to get his girls, but with the fire and smoke, he wasn't able to do so. When the investigators asked Cameron how he thought the fire started, he said he didn't know, but since he found it most intense in the twins' room, he believed it could have started there. He talked about how there was a space heater in their room, but he wasn't sure if it was on or not at the time of the fire. Thanks, Tara. Other than that, he had no idea what might have started it, but it had to do some sort of electrical issue due to the popping and crackling that he heard. Now, according to investigators, Cameron's story and his injuries received that day were not consistent with the evidence. For example, Cameron claimed he ran out of the house without putting his shoes on first, but he had no burns on his feet. But they believed that a fire like that, which left burn marks all over the floor of the house, would have for sure burnt his feet had he really spent that much time in the home trying to save the girls. Detectives were convinced he had set the fire intentionally. They pointed to the allegations of abuse, evidence of arson by the fire investigators, including the accelerant marks on the twins' bedroom floor shaped like a pentagram. They even pointed to the skull posters he had in his room, claiming that it may be some sort of satanic ritual. They pointed to his injuries and his behaviour after the fire, but Cameron refused to budge on his story. In fact, he hardly showed any emotion at all until they showed him photos of his deceased children. And then he broke. He sobbed uncontrollably, but police did not see this as a sign of innocence, but rather a show of how guilty he felt. Skulls don't always mean evil. Nah, Jolene, I think there was a picture of 3 skulls. It was like and they tried to make out it was like the Grim Reaper, that he had like fantasies with death. Like, I've got a best friend and she's obsessed with like heavy metal skulls. She's got a skull tattoo. She's definitely not a killer. I think to point out any kind of art on the wall, and you know, people come to my house and accuse me of murder and then go, well, she's got Tupac, she's listening to rap music, oh, she literally is listening to songs about murder, now she's doing it. Like, you can pick anything apart like that. Look at Luke Mitchell. They said he had a Marilyn Manson album, so he must be a murderer. And then they tried to say, oh, I'm the oddities collector. You know, they tried to say, well, he listens to Marilyn Manson, he's definitely a killer, he definitely did it. That's like one thing in his house. Skulls were really fat. My friend's got like leggings with skulls all up and down in them stuff. Like, she just loves like gothic kind of stuff. She's soft as shit, man. She cries all the time. Even without a confession from Cameron, police believed they had enough evidence to move forward and charge him with the murder of all 3 girls. His bail was set at $1 million, which of course he didn't have. The state attorney decided she's the one that leaves me all the peanut M&Ms. The state attorney decided to try and offer him a plea deal where he would plead guilty in order to avoid the death penalty, and this would provide a quick and easy trial and just a sentencing. Cameron's attorney urged him to take it, but he refused. He said, nope, I am innocent and I will never admit to killing my children, and if they're not here, I don't even need to be out. I'll go to prison. Like, I don't want to live without them, basically. He said, I'm ready to plead my case to a jury, but Cameron couldn't afford to hire his own lawyers, so he was assigned to by the state. Now we're going to get into the trial section. I'm just going to have a bit of my coffee. I don't know if it's cold or if it looks cold. Yum. So both the defence and prosecution... Hey, Blue Storm, I didn't know you were in here. Love you. Both the defence and prosecution began to prepare their cases for trial, while Cameron remained behind bars. Then, a surprise that delighted the prosecution, they received word that a prisoner, thank you Emma, by the name of Johnny Webb, who was serving time alongside Cameron, wanted to make a deal. He alleged that Cameron had confessed to him that he set the fire intentionally. He had taken some kind of lighter fluid and began squirting it all around the walls and the floor in the shape of a pentagram and set fire. Webb, who had a lengthy rap sheet himself, had just been jailed for robbing a woman at knife point when he gave his testimony. He was a drug addict who would do anything to support his habit, and yet the prosecution was willing to take his statement as fact. It appeared they had a solid case, but while many people seemed ready to burn Cameron at the stake, Stacey stood behind him, saying that she believed he was innocent and he would never hurt his children. In August of 1992, the trial started. The prosecution had expert witness testimonies regarding those 20 indicators of arson that the fire department found at the scene. And to seal the deal, they had Johnny Webb testify that Cameron Todd Willingham had confessed to him that he had set the fire intentionally. The defence was ill prepared. They tried to find a fire expert to counter what the prosecution was saying about the arson, but apparently they couldn't find anyone to do it. In the end, they only had one witness to the jury, the Willingham's babysitter, who said she could not believe that Cameron ever would have killed his children. So what you have is a bit like a Letby trial here. Same trial Letby got. So you get a prosecution that put on all these expert witnesses. They say, look, you've definitely started the fire. We see this burn pattern on the floor. You've poured the accelerant underneath the girls' bedroom, their beds, and all over their windows. And then we have his turn for a defence, and they go, well, we couldn't find an expert, so we'll just whack the babysitter on the trial. And the babysitter just says, thank you, Hannah. He would never hurt his kids. And then they go, I rest my case. I'm going to give you more information in a minute, guys, but right now I'm just giving you when I do a case, if you're new in here, I do it from start to finish. So everything we knew up until this point, everything we knew during the trial, and then I'll give you more information in a minute. So the trial lasted 2 days, and on the third day, the jury was out for barely an hour. They were out for about an hour and 10 minutes before they came in and said guilty. Cameron Todd Willingham was sentenced to death for the murder of his 3 children. At first, his wife Stacey had campaigned for his release. She wrote to the governor of Texas saying, I know him in ways that no one else could when it comes to our children. Therefore, I believe there is no way he could possibly have committed this crime. However, her support waned when she came to terms with his death sentence. As she was one of the only few people who believed Cameron was innocent, it appeared that she too began to believe in the guilty verdict. Within a year, she stopped visiting, filed for divorce, and started talking out in the media that she thought he was guilty. While Cameron sat on death row with his only parents who would come to visit him, thank you, Sonia, he began receiving letters from a woman named Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth had volunteered to be a pen pal for an inmate on death row as part of an initiative put forward by an organisation opposing the death penalty. She began writing to Cameron, which was far out of her comfort zone. She went in with only knowledge that he was on death row, so he must have done something truly horrific. Thank you, Tasha. Whenever she imagined what he could have done, nothing came close to her thinking she'd be writing to a man who was convicted of the murder of 3 babies by fire. Still, she committed to treating him with humanity, even though she felt he must be guilty to have gotten death row. They wrote letters back and forth, and Elizabeth would eventually visit him. Usually they would talk about random things, nothing about the deaths of his children, but over time Cameron began to open up to her, and he continued to maintain his innocence. While Elizabeth didn't initially believe him, she became curious to learn more about his case. So one day she drove down to the courthouse and she paid to get all of the trial records. She wanted to learn about what had happened, and it was what was contained in those records that convinced her that Cameron Todd Willingham was an innocent man. There were too many inconsistencies. Some of the witness statements claimed that Cameron didn't try to save his children and sat there unmoved, while other statements, particularly from the firemen who had no reason to lie, said they had to hold him back, pin him down, to the extent that they had black eyes because he was trying so hard to get inside. And then the statement from the fellow inmate, how can that be trusted when we have another violent offender who is a drug addict, who is the only witness testimony given in the courtroom? Elizabeth pushed forward. She had to know more. She called Cameron's now ex-wife Stacey to see what she thought, and Stacey said, as she'd always said, yes, her husband had been abusive to her, but ultimately she decided to marry on. That's why she decided to move on and find someone to treat her better. Not really, Ginny. Anyone can get records. In America, if you go to a courthouse, you can get trial manuscripts. You can do over here with the Freedom of Information Act. You can appeal. Oh no, Jolene, that's fine. You can get the paperwork. So Stacey said to her, look, I know he didn't do this. I know he was, violent to me, but he would never have hurt our children. And I don't think for a second that he set that fire intentionally. Elizabeth also asked to meet with Johnny Webb, the jail informant. He maintained his story, saying Cameron had told him he intentionally set the house on fire. But just a few months after the jailhouse visit, Johnny Webb sent Elizabeth a motion to recant his testimony, declaring Mr. Willingham is innocent of all charges, and I lied to get him in trouble and get myself a better deal. Webb was now recanting his earlier statement against Cameron, and he said that he wanted to admit that he'd made the whole thing up. Still, the evidence of arson was the biggest piece of evidence to overcome, and it was key to the conviction. Alicia, my baby, where you been? She'll hate that. Hug me. And Cameron wasn't able to find anyone during his trial to speak against the arson theory. Elizabeth began looking for experts who may be willing to have another look, but unfortunately everything stopped when she got into a really bad car accident and was hospitalised. She wasn't able to continue looking deeper into the story and helping Cameron to try and get another trial. Everything just stopped. She could hardly move. She was bedridden and she just couldn't help anymore. Thank you for the Hartleys, guys. She had been the only one on his side, and now she couldn't help because she had to take care of her own health. So her family actually said to her, you've got to stop this. Like, you are not well. Like, she was on so many medications. She was awake for like 2-3 hours a day before she'd be put back to sleep, and she just couldn't help him. A few weeks before the execution of Cameron was scheduled to happen, and this is what Cameron looked like around the time of his execution. This is another picture of him in prison. Where's the other picture I had? And this is one of the last pictures ever taken of him with his parents behind bars. So a few weeks before his scheduled execution, Cameron's legal team decided to send the reports from the scene to the fire to a man of the name of Dr. Gerald Hurst. He was a fire scientist with a PhD from Cambridge University. His field in the fire science was actually something quite new at the time. In previous years, it was the fire department that would examine the scene of fires and make their conclusion. And this is very interesting because firemen aren't scientists. They know about fire, but they're not scientists, they're not specialists. They're trained mostly in how to put out fires, not study the way in which fires starts and spreads. So what we used to have, now we have proper fire investigators who are scientists who go in, they can look at burn patterns, like accelerant patterns and stuff. But before, like I just said, it was firemen, like the senior fireman, the guy who was in charge would go in and say, look, this looked how it started and this is kind of why I think this. When Dr. Hurst reviewed the fire and the file, the photos, the videos and the testimony, so he had proper photos, proper fire, and he could see exactly where the police were saying this is where accelerant's been poured, this is the windows, this is the pentagram. He said, hang on a minute, this is not a case of arson. He said, this fire has something called flashover, which is the instant ignition of a combustible material in a room. Why do you not do Pete Tobin? His niece is on the app. Because I haven't done it yet, Jelly Tot. The patterns on the floor of the girl's bedroom were not from some liquid accelerant. According to him, it was actually just the natural pattern a flashover leaves behind. There was no pentagram. When you look at where the windows in the room were located, the flash pattern was just following where the windows were. And that's exactly what Dr. Hurst believed happened here and what people were viewing as being a pentagram pattern. The fire report also noted they tested a liquid accelerant that they had found at the scene near the porch door. Apparently there had been a barbecue on the porch which would have contained charcoal lighter fluid. So as the barbecue on the porch got hot, it would have combusted and the fluid would have gone everywhere. So the accelerant between the door was actual charcoal fluid from the barbecue. Dr. Hurst summed up his finding to say that this had definitely not been arson at all, and he believed the fire had started in the space heater in the toddler's room. The original investigators didn't even really bother to eliminate accidental causes. So, Sherbet Lemon, if you remember what I explained to you, that when the fire is so hot and it hits the windows, it makes like a spider pattern, and the same fire pattern from the windows would be on the floor. I have watched that film, which they just saw like a circle-like pattern with like the webbing, which is caused by this flash, and they decided that it was definitely a pentagram. He said that the fire department, looking at their files, had never looked into accidental death and had straight away looked to prove that it was a fire that had started intentionally. This new report was summed up on February the 13th, 2004, only 4 days before Cameron was scheduled for execution. Time was seriously running out, so Cameron's legal team rushed to file last-minute appeals. While he waited to find out if his case would be retried, Cameron got a visit with his ex-wife. She had gone to visit him in prison one last time, and this time she had completely changed her opinion on what had happened. Previously, she stated she was certain her husband did not set the fire, and now she decided that he was absolutely guilty, and she decided to go to the media and say that Cameron had almost admitted to her what had happened, which she later recants after he's dead. But she said that her rage was brought on by the fact that Cameron asked her at this last meeting, he said, look, they're going to execute me and I want my ashes to be buried beside our children. and she decided the rage from this made her go to the papers and say that he had killed his children. It's unclear what exactly made her change her mind, but she began speaking to the media about how, after she'd read through all of the reports, that she believed her husband had killed the girls in the fire. And she went as far as to file documents with the court to say that Cameron had confessed to her at the final meeting at the courthouse. Cameron denied he'd said any such thing, but it was more than enough for the court to deny his request for a new trial. And on February the 17th, Cameron Todd Willingham was executed. His last words were, "I didn't do it, I would never kill my babies." And when he looked through the glass to see who was there to watch his execution, he saw his wife Stacey sitting amongst the people. He looked straight at her and she walked over to the window and he said, "Fuck you, bitch, I hope you rot in hell." And then he was executed. To some, this outburst of anger was the final nail in his coffin. They saw it as a sign this man was clearly a psychopath. But for others, they felt like without her putting in this paperwork, he would have at least got a new trial in order to be able to prove that he hadn't done this. And he was ultimately put to death because of her. But none of that really matters now. What matters is all of this new evidence that has since come to light since he died. In 2008, the Texas Forensic Sciences Commission gave the fire another look themselves. They once again reviewed the fire reports, the testimony, the photographs and the videos, and they came back confirming there was no evidence in that house that was consistent with arson. And Johnny Webb, the jailhouse informant who said that Cameron confessed to him in prison, well, he has recanted his statement many times, saying the only reason he came forward was to help himself get a lesser charge. What about Stacey's statement that Cameron confessed to her in their last meeting? In 2004, Stacey told the Chicago Tribune and the New Yorker that he never confessed that she had lied. So did the state put an innocent man to death, a man who was already grieving because of the loss of his 3 children? Maybe, almost probably, certainly. In any case, this is an example of why the death penalty doesn't work in all situations, and definitely a judicial system that is incredibly flawed. Cameron Todd Willingham wasn't perfect by any means, and even by his own admission, he was physically abusive to his wife. But it's very unlikely that he intentionally set the fire that killed his 3 daughters. And I just want to go here. So the Innocence Project from Texas are working really hard to get the courts to clear his name in death. They say that they have so many witnesses and experts have come forward to prove that this isn't true. The guy that said he overheard Cameron say that, oh, he's going to make money off of his girl's death, actually said, oh, I don't even know if I actually really heard that at all now. And they are trying to, where did I find it on the webpage? They are desperately trying to get people to write into the governor to get Cameron Todd Willingham declared innocent in his death. His parents are still alive. They are still fighting for justice for their son. So the Innocence Project are basically saying that Cameron Todd Willingham was executed in Texas in 2004 for his allegedly setting fire that killed his 3 young daughters 13 years earlier. He always claimed he's innocent, and now we're finding out that the leading experts in his trial were actually flawed and not even qualified to give testimony. And now they're working at overturning his conviction post-death. No, Gemma, and the thing is, she's continued to make programmes, she's continued to go on true crime documentaries and that and talk about her children, how he killed them, etc. I don't know if he got buried with his kids. Let me have a look. I don't, probably not, but judging by how she was acting. So he's at the Rollins Cemetery in Oklahoma near his parents, so I take it not, because the children were buried in Texas, I believe. Let me have a look at this. So this is from the Innocence Project. Recent scientific reports indicate that a Texas likely executed an innocent man have spurred wild coverage and commentary. He was executed after killing. Trial by Fire is the film, if anyone wants to watch it. I have seen it for myself. I was literally crying, and then I watched some interviews with Willingham, which were... Let me see if I can get the trailer up.
Cameron Todd Willingham, you are guilty of capital murder. By order of the state of Texas, you are sentenced to death.
You're my first visitor in a long time.
How long has it been?
8 years. Prisoners talk about doing time. On the road, there is no time. The clock stopped moving the minute we was sentenced.
How about you tell me what happened?
Any man can't save his own kids. Don't deserve to live. But I did not kill my own children, Elizabeth. I love them more than I love life itself.
I found myself talking to a vulnerable, sensitive man.
Oh, I've got
I
to...
believe the state of Texas is about to kill an innocent man. You failed to challenge witnesses that changed their
Trial by
story.
Fire.
He had the motive. He had the means. That boy is a monster.
I don't know if it's on Netflix. Does anyone know?
His lawyer decided Todd was guilty from the get-go. He failed to find a single scientific expert.
Doesn't mean he's innocent.
Don't let your emotions get the better.
My emotions? What? Because I'm a woman? Great. I'm gonna go finish your job for you.
You ever read Man's Search for Meaning? He says to live is to suffer, and to survive you gotta find meaning in the suffering. I wanna live.
That's why we're not gonna give up. Why do you think Todd Willingham confessed to you?
I ain't supposed to talk about this stuff,
Who told you not to talk about it? The district attorney?
Oh,
They're
no.
gonna kill an innocent person.
I got a gun. Get out of here, then.
These so-called experts didn't even bother to check the space heater.
There's no arson, there's no crime.
It ain't gonna make no difference. Liz, I'm not here to be safe. I am here to die.
What chance we got, honestly?
You think this is just about Todd? The system doesn't work. It's broken.
These are my last days, Liz. If I start hoping, he's gonna go by just like that.
I understand. But I'm hoping.
It's such a good film, but it's really really sad. I watched it on Amazon actually, Kaza, and like he said right up to the end, he said no man who couldn't save his kids deserves to live, and that's what he was guilty of. He couldn't save them. I honestly think it was him saying could he be buried next to the children that made her turn on him. She was already remarried by that point, and I just think. I think it must have been time during Satanic Panic, but let me put these pictures bigger. So this is Todd right before he was executed. This is Todd with his eldest daughter. Thank you for the heart, guys, and all the taps and stuff, guys. 135k, thank you. I knew I was about to do that. This is his wife now. She's been on like Evil Lives Here and stuff like that. I felt it used to be free. That was a real one. Apple TV too. I've never got Apple TV, but you can watch on there. Yeah. I'm sorry, like obviously they were two really heartbreaking cases today. Fire stick. Oh, thank you, Zara. Thank you so much. I love that little one. Unbox. It's on the box. Is that what you're going to TV? Oh, thank you, Once Upon a Beauty. Yawning is contagious. Especially those real ones. Thank you, Mills. Thank you. Thank you guys for all the gifts tonight. Thank you for being so. Tuesday night we have the Charlie Costa live. His dad is coming on to talk to us about knife crime, and it is really, really important one. I have covered the Lisa Dorian case quite a few times. Let's do a poll. What are we doing a poll about? Let me just ask how many of you are going to come for that live, because that's important to me. If you're free... Oh, my Bixby. Sorry, my Bixby went off again. Put a smiley face if you're going to be there for that live. Put a crying face if you're not. Thank you guys. If you're not voting... What rhymes with voting? Voting. If you're not voting, you're boating. You're out boating. So one of you's not going to be here. Bon you. Connie. So I'm on Tuesday night. I'm interviewing Martin Cossa, who is the father of Charlie Cossa, who was stabbed to death. He's going to tell his story, what it's like to be the parent of a child who loses his life because he's stabbed by a complete stranger for no reason. Oh, it's okay, Connie. I think Observer said she's going to put it on YouTube, and if she doesn't, I will. It's going to be what I'm trying to do because now I'm home. I've got a new home. I'm finally home, out of the refuge. I am going to start at least once every 2 weeks having a family member of a victim of crime on and letting them tell their stories. Shauna, if you're at Disneyland, just have an absolutely amazing time with your children and watch it on YouTube when you get back, please. Take some time and don't worry about being here. Yeah, definitely. And if you've got teenage children, please try to 9 o'clock on Tuesday. Please try to show teenagers this, because I'll definitely be showing my teenager. I think it's really important that children learn the impact of knife crime and even carrying a knife, because this can happen accidentally. Yeah, we've moved now. I'm gonna have a whole setup soon. I just need to wait for the front room to be carpeted so I can get stuff in there. So at the moment I'm just sat in the kitchen again. It seems like I go from kitchen to kitchen. I'm telling Miss Red. But we are here. And you're even lucky that I'm live, not showing you my toilet tonight. My teenager's in jail for it. Leslie, that's really interesting that you're the other side of it. Did he stab someone or just carried a knife, if you don't mind me asking? Sasha, I think we're all feeling terrified. So Charlie Costa was at a party, a pre-arranged like beer festival, and yours as well, Angel. Wow, stabbed someone. Oh, it would be really interesting at some stage if somebody is brave enough to tell their side of the story, being the mother of someone who has stabbed someone, because I think there's two families, right, that lose really badly. There's two families that absolutely struggle. One would be the victim's family and one would be the perpetrator's family. You would, Leslie. I think that'd be really interesting to have you on one night and do that. I could follow you back so you can message me. I think, people, you look so much younger live. But an old bitch in my videos. Thank you. Thank you. I think that's a compliment. Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting, because I think any of us, any single one of us, could be a parent of either the perpetrator or the victim, like 100%. And it doesn't make us any less of a good parent. Yeah, definitely inbox me, like, I'd be really interested to do that. I think you maybe in hindsight have lessons that you could share with other people, which may absolutely prevent their children from being in the same space. This room is a safe space. Like, this is about true crime. This is about true crime, but I understand behind every single crime is a family on both sides. And a lot of parents who have lost their children address that too, like they have lost their son too, for however long it may be. So I think it's really brave if you want to do that. I think it would have a massive impact. Why is everyone talking? Have you got a YouTube channel? Yeah, Comet Crime. I don't put too much on there at the moment. What I'm going to do is now I've moved to this new house, I'm going to get a setup in order. I'm going to get my MacBook open and load it up because I haven't even opened it yet because I wanted to. Oh my God, Linda, I'm so sorry. I'm going to start putting out more YouTube videos, like longer cases. I'm going to still be doing my TikTok, and by the end of this year, I will have my own true crime podcast where we'll be putting out episodes every week, as well as uploading the video format onto YouTube. It's going to be a big step for me, I'm scared, but I do think it'll be successful. I'm so glad you've been here, silent or not, like, thank you for coming. I really want to be able to work with some of the parents I've met on this journey and help with their cases, and I think putting out a true crime podcast is the ultimate dream. I don't know if TikTok will last forever, and to be taken seriously, I find taken seriously in crime, it's very hard to do on TikTok because of just some of the backlash and the fucking knobheads on here. So the podcast is my ultimate dream. I think it'll be really good to do. I think I'll always be here like a stalker. I love you, Sal. We've been here from day one. I think true crime podcasts are amazing, right? And I live by them. There aren't many good UK ones. Like, I always suggest real podcasts by my friend Naomi Channel, but I don't see a lot of true crime podcasts that are done really well from the UK. Like, all of my favourite ones are US based, and I think I've got a lot of belief that, like, by the end of year one, that I would be in the top 10 of true crime podcasts. I just do believe that. I've got a lot of passion. I've made lots of links on here through families. I do feel like, laddie, it's a bit like my calling. Did you see Em's Laugh Live last night? No, I didn't. All killer, no filler. Oh, let me just have a look at that, because I'm looking for a new true crime podcast. So I'm up to date on all my other ones. Your family is my first live. Oh, look. Oh, thank you, Cheryl. I'm glad. Welcome to the lives. We do cover different cases every single night normally. I'll have maybe 1 or 2 nights off sometimes because I've just moved house. Red-handed I've listened to. Yeah, but we are a really good community. We're one of the best communities, I believe, on the whole of TikTok, because everyone's so lovely in here. It's such a safe space. Like, there's never any hate in here, fighting, drama in here, none of that. We all come here just to talk about victims and what we can do to make things better. So welcome to our community. Kendall Ray is my favourite. General G is a right weirdo. Yeah, Kendall Ray is one I watch consistently every single week. One of the best. We are the best. We are the best. It is a safe space in here. Morbid is a good one. I met the creators of that at CrimeCon last year. I didn't go to CrimeCon this year because I was moving, but I definitely am going next year. Kendall is the epitome of what I would like to be in the future. So she's got to a stage where she's making so much money from her episodes that she can give a large amount to a foundation or charity every single episode. And I would absolutely love to be able to do that in a year's time, to be at a space where I can absolutely give money to domestic violence. The generals, I thought you called me a tramp then. I was literally going to say, I will block you again, brother. You've only been back one night. Yeah, he's weird. He's so weird. Do you like Stephanie So? Do you mean Stephanie Harlow? I just saw a tramp and I thought, is he fucking kidding me? I will take you down. Alicia, you've been quiet, Alicia, today. You good? Zara V. I don't think I know Zara V. You have a calm. I just feel so happy. I feel so happy. Like, I feel like I'm home and I'm doing things very slowly. Not slowly, very quickly, to be fair. The carpet man's coming to fit all the carpets on Tuesday, and the new sofa is coming. I love Derek Lavassa and Stephanie. The new carpet is coming Tuesday. Then the new sofa's coming mid next week. My oven's coming. My microwave's coming. My new desk is coming that Gray helped me pick today. I'm going to be bougie, which will allow me to do the podcasting and stuff like that. So you love Derek Acora. Have you got a Derek Acora t-shirt yet, Alicia, or not? I just feel happy and relaxed. I feel ready for the future, you know what I mean? Message me on here, Sarah. You're a subscriber, so I follow you back, so you can always message me. Not yet, Derek Acora. That's a fucking random as fuck. Em McKenney is really good. I really like her. I'm going to meet her one day, I think. My daughter watches a girl who does makeup and true crime. Tegan watches her, and she's got the most fucking annoying voice. And I said to her yesterday, can you stop listening to her? What's she called? It's a UK girl that does makeup and Nah, not Bailey Siren. There's is she called Kirsty? Is she called Kirsty? She's got a really annoying voice. I like Eleanor Neale. Me and Tegan both watch Eleanor Neale, and then we quote the she's called Hayley Coney. Are you trying to make fun of me? Nah, she's good. Let me have a look. Bailey's good. Bailey, she's earned her stripes, man. She's got really where she is. I think she meant to say she's called Hayley Comet. I can't even do makeup. That's why I said, is it Hayley Comet? No, I don't do makeup lives. Danielle Kirsty, that's her. The most fucking annoying voice. You guys might like her, I don't. Eleanor Neale is really good, and she's really good because Christina Randall's cool. She got some good story from being in jail on that. Me and Tegan don't have much in common, like we talk about, but she watched Eleanor Neale and so do I, and so we can talk about it afterwards. But she tries to get me, she tries to watch it as soon as she puts it up and then come down and like tell me the whole thing and then go, I'm not going to tell you anything, but there's this murder and then this happened and that happened and then this happened and then this is the outcome. I haven't told you the whole thing. Annie Elise is good. She goes on a little bit too much sometimes. Her episodes are like 3 days long, but she's good. 10 to Life, yeah, I watch her. Courtney Love's episode. On what? Thank you, Skelton. I'm worried about you. Are you alright? Yeah, anyone who wants to talk about knife crime. I think we need to keep talking about knife crime. I can't watch or listen if they have an annoying voice. Yeah, Crime Junkie are my absolute favourite, Jamie Lock. And the new Unsolved Mysteries is out this week. And I am so excited for it. Like, I'm just going to go missing. Thanks, Chop. Unsolved Mysteries is so awesome. I was going to call it Peng then. I don't even know where that came from. I've been around Tegan too much today. It's so good. That was a real button. Sorry. Hey, Grumpy. Why do we say hi, Grumpy, to me? You're grumpier. Voice for Justice as well. Voice for Justice is very good. Who's requesting, man? Crime Junkie is on air wherever you listen to your podcast. I actually I pay to be a member of Crime Junkie because I'm literally ride or die Crime Junkie. So I've got the Crime Junkie app on my phone. It's so cool, like all the episodes are on there. But I would say to anyone to do this. But it's just loading now. They won't even let me in. Are you kidding? Yeah, it's just got like all their different things. They were trying to bait me out then. I'm a top tier member as well. Fuck off. Really, Ashley Flowers? Missing People, I watch that. I listen to that all the time. You've always been my ride or die, mate. I love that, Georgia. Do I follow you? Because if I don't, I'm going to follow you. Because you literally... Oh, I do follow you already. I'll follow anyone back who compliments me. I'm so fickle. Look how good it is, blank. I know. I was like, look at my bougie app. Mr. Ballin, I've started watching a few of his because people suggested it. Oh, Georgia, you changed your name. I was thinking, do I even follow you? Yeah, I didn't. You change your name all the time. I'm always complimenting you. Oh, yeah, I told you. Last time you complimented me, I told you to take your face for a shit. Love you, dolls. One's my bathroom, one's my to get into the front room. Full Body Chills is a good one. Yeah, it is a good one. So's what's the other one? The Park Murders.
The Observer, providing you with the latest TikTok drama from across the UK.